Americans don't hate foreign laws. They just think those laws forgot to include them. Everywhere they go, they ask the same question. Okay, but what if I don't agree with it? Let's watch what happens when freedom meets the fine print of the planet. My father is a police officer in Switzerland. He stopped an American driver who had parked halfway on a pedestrian crossing. My dad explained that blocking a crosswalk carries a heavy fine. The tourist smiled and said, "I was only here for 5 minutes." My dad said, "So was the law." The American laughed until the ticket printer started. In his mind, laws were meant to prevent chaos, not inconvenience him. I work as a guide at a national park in Chile. An American couple ignored the signs for forbidding drones in the reserve. When I stopped them, the man said, "But this is public land. We're the public." I told him, "It's protected land. You're the threat." He frowned like I'd rewritten the dictionary in real time. To him, ownership meant access. To us, protection meant limits. My sister is a hotel manager in Dubai. She had to ask an American guest to change out of his swim shorts before entering the lobby. He shouted, "You can't tell me what to wear. It's my body." She calmly replied, "Yes, but it's our country." He left a review calling it a violation of personal freedom. In his head, cultural law was censorship. To everyone else, it was basic respect. Americans grew up believing the individual is the highest authority. Most of the world grew up believing the community is. So when the local law doesn't bend to one person's will, they read it as oppression, not organization. I'm a teacher in South Korea. An American parent demanded his son be allowed to skip morning exercises. He said, "In our country, physical activity isn't mandatory." I said, "In ours, neither is obesity." He stared, offended, not by the joke, but by the idea that group discipline could be lawful. He thought collective rules were optional, like gym class sign-ups. My uncle runs a vineyard in southern France. An American tourist insisted on calling his California sparkling wine champagne. My uncle explained that it's illegal. It's a protected designation of origin. The tourist said, "That's just marketing control." My uncle said, "No, that's history protection." He couldn't see how the law wasn't about profit. It was about identity. I work as a doctor in Norway. An American patient refused the standard medication we prescribed. He said, "In the U.S., I get to choose my brand." I said, "Here, you get to choose to live." He looked confused, as if the idea of trusting the system instead of the market was un-American. To Americans, law feels like customer service. To the rest of the world, law is the structure that keeps the system alive. They expect flexibility where others expect responsibility. My sister works at a wedding agency in Italy. An American couple wanted a drone to film inside a 14th-century church. When the priest refused, the groom said, "We'll donate extra." Everything's negotiable. The priest smiled and said, "Not salvation." They left furious, convinced Catholicism had poor customer relations. I'm a marine biologist in Australia. An American tourist argued with me when I told him he couldn't touch a sea turtle. It's nature. He said, "You can't own it." I said, "You can't own the ocean either, but you can still drown in it." He laughed like it was a metaphor. It wasn't. My roommate works in public transport in Amsterdam. He fined an American tourist for biking through a pedestrian-only street. The guy yelled, "That's overregulation." No one got hurt. My roommate said, "That's why, because there's regulation." To him, laws were reactionary. To us, they're preventive. Americans often confuse freedom with absence of friction. But outside the USS, freedom isn't the right to do anything. It's the right to live within a functioning system. My friend is a librarian in Ireland. An American student used a pen inside the long room despite clear signs saying pencils only. When stopped, he argued, "You're limiting academic freedom." She said, "No, we're limiting ink stains." He couldn't imagine a rule made to protect history, not limit expression. I was working as a bartender in Iceland. An American ordered 6 tequila shots and offered one to a 17-year-old local. When I refused to serve, he said, "Come on, it's just a drink." I said, "That's just a law." He laughed. "You guys really take this stuff seriously?" Yes, that's what makes it a law. My dad is a farmer in Scotland. He found an American tourist camping in a sheep pasture right beside a ram. My dad said it was illegal to camp in enclosed fields with livestock. The man replied, "But the sheep looks lonely." My dad said, "That's why he's fenced in, so he doesn't meet people like you." In America, the rule is an obstacle until proven useful. Everywhere else, the rule is the condition that makes life predictable. It's not rebellion that travels badly. It's entitlement. I work for a city council in Singapore. An American expat painted his public housing unit neon orange. We fined him. He said, "I own it. It's my property." We said, "You own the inside. The outside belongs to everyone else." He called it a communist HOA. We called it harmony. My aunt owns a cheese shop in the French Alps. An American tourist photographed her unpasteurized cheese label to report it to the FDA. He told her, "This is illegal in my country." She smiled. "Then it's a good thing you're not in your country." He didn't laugh. Laws apparently don't translate well with lactose. I'm a tour guide in Greece. An American man climbed onto a restricted temple ruin for a photo. When I shouted for him to get down, he said, "Relax. I'm being careful." I said the stone isn't. He couldn't understand that care doesn't cancel illegality. The American legal mindset is transactional. If I mean no harm, it shouldn't be wrong. But legality isn't about intention. It's about structure. The rest of the world doesn't measure guilt by motive, but by impact. My brother is a pilot in Canada. He grounded an American passenger for refusing to turn off his phone during takeoff. The man said, "That rule's outdated. Modern planes can handle it." My brother said, "So can doctors, but we still tell patients not to Google their symptoms." I'm a park ranger in Finland. An American hiker ignored a fire ban and started roasting marshmallows. When fined, he said, "It's a cultural tradition." You can't ban culture. I said, "We're banning forest fires, not desserts." He called it anti-American discrimination by nature. My cousin is a lawyer in Japan. Her American client tried to countersue a landlord for emotional distress. She told him Japan doesn't recognize such claims. He said, "But that's how you win in court." She said, "Not here. Here you win by being right, not loud." When Americans face systems that can't be argued, negotiated, or monetized, they feel powerless. Not because they're oppressed, but because the rest of the world doesn't speak legalese for feelings. My neighbor works in customs in Kenya. An American tourist brought a bag full of animal bones for a research project. He didn't have permits. When detained, he shouted, "This is for science." I'm advancing knowledge. The officer said, "So are we about smuggling?" I'm a flight attendant in Germany. An American passenger refused to fasten his seatbelt before landing. He said, "It's my life, my risk." I said, "It's our fine." He sighed. "Your rules are exhausting." I smiled. That's how we stay alive. Americans don't mean to disrespect other countries. They just expect the world to run on intentions, not institutions. But travel isn't about testing your rights. It's about discovering which ones were never yours to begin with. Sometimes maturity isn't asking, "Why is this rule here?" but admitting, maybe it's here for a reason. My mom is a doctor in Canada. An American tourist came to the emergency room demanding immediate treatment for a mild cold. She explained that they treat critical cases first. He snapped. "But I have insurance." She said, "So does everyone." He looked shocked, as if universal health care was an attack on his individuality. I'm a museum guard in Egypt. An American visitor tried to touch a mummy's coffin for texture. When I stopped him, he said, "Relax. I'm gentle." I told him, "So is time until you arrived." He argued that the no-touching sign was just a suggestion for kids. Apparently, 4,000 years of preservation law was a parenting guideline. My brother drives a taxi in London. He had an American passenger who refused to wear a seatbelt in the back seat. When told it's the law, he said, "I'm an adult. I take responsibility for my choices." My brother said, "So will my insurance company by taking my license." The man muttered, "This country's obsessed with control." No, just with not cleaning your blood off the seats. I'm a chef in Japan. An American customer tried to tip me 10,000 yen and got offended when I politely refused. He said, "It's a reward for good service." I said, "Here, good service is required by law, not purchased by guilt." He frowned. In his world, generosity proved character. In ours, restraint proved respect. My friend is a mail carrier in England. An American new to town yelled at him for not delivering on Sunday. He shouted, "Amazon said 2 days shipping." My friend said, "Amazon isn't God. We rest." The man threatened to report this to corporate. He didn't realize that here the Sabbath still outranks customer support. I was a barista in Sweden. An American customer refused to bust his tray, saying, "I'm paying for service." "That's your job," I said, "and paying taxes is yours." That's society. He blinked, confused, like we both spoke in different dialects of capitalism. My cousin works in airport security in Israel. He stopped an American who got angry about the strict screening questions. "This is invasive," he said. My cousin replied, "That's the point." He said, "You're profiling me." My cousin smiled. We profile everyone. That's equality. I'm a train conductor in Germany. An American passenger was fined for boarding without validating his ticket. He said, "But I bought it." I said, "You also have to activate it." He frowned. "That's double work." I said, "That's German efficiency. 2 steps that prevent 10 problems." My aunt is a shopkeeper in Morocco. An American woman tried to return a hand-woven rug because it shed fibers. My aunt said, "It's made from sheep." She replied, "You should have a quality law against that." My aunt said, "We do. It's called nature." I work for a tourism board in Finland. An American influencer got fined for driving a snowmobile across a reindeer path. He said, "You're killing tourism." I said, "You're killing reindeer." He called it bad for the brand. I said, "So is manslaughter." Americans often see foreign laws as personal attacks, but those laws weren't written about them. They were written before them. Where they see control, others see coordination. Where they see limits, others see trust. You're not supposed to bend a rule. You're supposed to learn how to live inside.